everyone, and welcome to Pass the Mic. My name is Gino, and today I have the pleasure of being with this wonderful man that, he does a lot of things that I didn't know, and I'm looking forward to finding out. Everybody say hello to Chip Frazier!
Hello, everybody.
Chip, what's our song today?
Our song today is by the OJs. It's called Love Train.
Ooh, don't you love the Love Train?
We do.
All right, let's give it a go. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, a love train. And that is your song for this week. Remember, we are sharing this thing together. So let's share some love during this holiday season. All right. So, Chip, when I met you, you told me about a new school system. Is it a school system or a learning system that you're putting into place?
Well, it's a project that Brian Jaramillo and I created in 2005, Gino, and it is a program and a process. And it's a program process that, if you want to harken back to the old days, and you may be too young for this, but
I probably am.
I'm not. We used to have a class called civics, and civics was kind of a combination of government and just
It's my life.
Yes.
And so this program, you want to take this into the school system.
Correct. And as a matter of fact, we have taken it into the school system. It was in Ventura, at Pacific High School in Ventura for years.
Oh.
And it's kind of having a comeback. It's been in Lompoc, it's been in Santa Barbara, it's in Santa Paula, it's been in Ojai, it's been somewhat in Los Angeles, and I'm talking to people in San Diego. But Gino, that in the public schools alone, there are 1,057 school districts in the state of California.
Oh my goodness.
So it would take forever to get them in there, and something like this has to happen when people see what it's about, and I can speak to as many Rotary clubs and teacher groups as I want, but until we can get it kind of catches fire.
Now, help me understand, how does this help prepare the students?
Okay.
Because I agree with you. I think our school systems, we need to attack teaching very differently.
I couldn't agree with you more, Gino. And what has happened, I think, over the years, and it's not been anything intentional, but we've just focused so much on grades and academics that we've missed that we've missed out on the human side of life. And when kids graduate from high school, their life doesn't end there; it starts. Now they've got approximately, if they live to be about 80 years old, which I think is somewhat where the national average is.
80?
I think 80 to 82 in this country. It's older in France because they drink wine at a younger age. But,
very smart, very smart.
And my daughter-in-law would love that because she's French. She would love to hear me say that.
Well, I love the wine aspect.
I love the wine aspect too. But so what happens if you've got now 64 years after you graduate from high school? So at 64 years, you've got to have a job. You've got to raise a family. You don't have to, but you'll raise a family. Right. You'll be involved in the community. And I think this program is something that teaches people and reinforces being good and doing kind.
Oh.
Or doing kind and being good. I think both first.
Either way, I think either way works.
Yeah, I think
either
so
way,
too.
Yeah. So this gives young people skills to be able to not only get out in the world, but recognize that you are the world. You're part of the community that's creating the world.
Absolutely, and that's a great way. That's a great way to phrase it. I'll have to probably steal that now that you've said, but I'll give you credit for it. And
I love that.
It's so funny. Just coincidentally, I went to an educational summit in Ventura County yesterday, and we had some great speakers from the business community and the educational community, and they talked about the hard skills and the soft skills. And the hard skills we know with learning how to use a computer, but the soft skills are knowing how to talk to people, how to relate to people, how to communicate, how to think critically. These are all things that a person, if the person has them, life, I think, will work easier for them. And I think they'll get some questions answered that otherwise they might not have to learn the hard way.
Now, I like that you said that. I like that you said that giving young people skills to learn how to communicate with one another. And it's beyond just, to me, communication. It's a way of being able to live with one another where we don't lose our sensibility. We don't allow anger and violence to be a way that we voice our differences.
Well, Gino, in this program we have at present 416 daily lesson plans that we have cataloged, and dealing with anger is certainly top of the list. Thinking critically is one. Integrity, honesty, these are all part of the spectrum of what we get. So what, in other words, what I'm saying, we look at this program and say it's kind of a roadmap to how to live your life fruitfully and spiritually and happily and successfully. I think those are all the ones I can think of, but it's a lot of times it doesn't come that natural to people, and particularly with phones and just all the media that's involved around them, that kids forget to communicate directly, and touch gets lost, and just.
Well, you know, I would go beyond that, it being just the kids. We forget as a nation that being able to communicate our point, being able to discuss and have differences, and understanding that a difference doesn't have to explode your life. It's just the way someone else chooses to live. And it only encounters you when you invite it in.
I love that. That is beautifully said, and you know, it's just so interesting that we have a world right now that is polarized by our thinking. So it begs the question, everyone can have their own opinion, but you can't have your own facts. Truth is truth. And we've gotten to a point where people want to say, well, what's right to you might be wrong to someone else. Well, but there is an absolute right and there is an absolute wrong. And we see it happening all the time, the problems that occur at schools and outside of schools. And over the years, if kids who will become adults do not understand this when they're young, it's very hard to play catch-up ball.
It is, and just adding to that, I think one of the coolest things in my world that I feel that's happening is that we are between the human world and the spiritual world. And I think for the very first time, more people are waking up, recognizing that we can live in a spiritual world, still have all the pretty cars, the diamond rings, the overflowing abundance, the prosperity, the joy, the laughter, the love. We can still have it all and have a consciousness in the workplace, in the schools, in our relationships. So programs like this, we're calling forth for that.
I totally agree with you, and I do believe that we use the word consciousness and conscience. That is just so important. And I think and I've heard it from you, and I've heard it from a lot of other people all the time, that giving service and serving others and helping people, it enriches our life. And I know kids are by nature, it's not their fault, it's just how they're raised and what they see. They're self-centered. They're a bit narcissistic. Not that there aren't some adults that aren't narcissistic. They exist too. But here we have a chance when you say the spiritual world, you know, a lot of times people get confused with that and think they automatically jump to religion. And this is not about religion. It's about the spirit moving us and being part of us. And I believe I'm seeing more and more people that are more entrenched in the belief that we should now look other places, and what we're coming up with, there's more to what we see. So that's why I'm saying that you can read all you want, you can study, you can learn how to program computers, you can learn everything you want, but if you still don't have that human contact, that connection, you're going to be missing out on a great deal of happiness in your future.
That's beautifully said. And the fact that we are now at this point in time where we can talk about consciousness openly, we can talk about spirituality, we can see that there have been schools that have implemented meditation. They brought meditation into the schools. And I remember watching this program. There was a little young kid that said he had to be about 10 or 11. And he said he didn't realize how angry he was until he started meditating.
Oh, God, that's great to hear.
Is
that's
that
beautiful.
powerful?
Yes, it's powerful. It's powerful.
Goodness. So I love people that are looking at our school system and saying, hey, we've got to go deeper. We've got to find another way. What encouraged you to step into this?
You know, I have to go back to approximately 1976 when I was teaching in the Norfolk school system.
I was just born then.
Well, I was teaching at the time, but I was learning as I'm going. There's something missing. So from my own perspective, I saw this in 1976. I don't think I was alone. I remember other people saying the same thing. But I did something about it. I started working on a program and started writing it. And after all these years, in 2005, we had gotten to the point where we had put together a program that addressed all of this. And it's not so tangible, but these elements that are involved in this program, and again I say program and procedure and process, it's something that every day you can concentrate on a different component, and you work with that and let the student interact and let the student read these beautiful quotes that people have delivered over the years. Start with that. It's just a very easy program. But here's the other thing, Gino. It not only helps the kids, but the teachers that teach the program realize a change in themselves because they are now participating and they're all getting involved. And that, I think there are certain things that I think are key to this program working. One is showing up. For any course, for anything you do, you got to show up. You got to be accountable. You got to be there, and you got to be involved in your own life. You can be a voyeur of your own life, but it's far better if you're a participant.
Absolutely, because we all are.
Yes.
Either by default or consciously. So it's never not in my world. It's never that we're not creating and being a part of this universe. We're either doing it by default, where we're sleepwalking through, or we're consciously waking up. And I think that we are consciously waking up everywhere. There's a beautiful phrase that I love to quote, and I'm gonna say, I think it was Reverend Michael Beckwith that said it. We are either pulled by the vision or we're pushed by the pain.
Well, I love that saying. It just gives me chills, and I think it's true. I believe that every time we start a new day. I mean, there's something magical about waking up in the morning and getting into the sun or whether in our case, I wish it'd be rain, but that's okay. It's going to come.
I don't want any rain. I don't want any rain.
I understand, and I can philosophically agree, but I just think what you said about what Michael Beckwith said, that is just so true. And as if we make time to help teach kids things that will help them be better adults, I believe they'll thank us. And we probably had 1,000 or 1,500 come through our program alone at Pacific. And you'd be surprised, we still hear from these kids all the time.
Oh, really?
We even have a summit once a year where we invite them and we have lunch, and it's been great to see what they're doing. And a lot of them said, if without this program, I would be in jail or I'd be dead. And we'd say, no, you wouldn't. Well, but the fact is they realized that it helped them. It helped them, and it's not something that cost a great deal of money. As a matter of fact, Gino, we are offering the program to people. They just have to try it and see if it works for them.
So how would someone get involved with you? Is it just schools, or say if a community center wanted to take on this? They have kids that come after school. Maybe they want to help present that. Is this something that they could utilize as well?
Yes, indeed. As a matter of fact, the Boys Club in Bakersfield, we are going to send the program there, and they're going to use it for just what you said, an after-school program. And I think we'll do the same thing here in Santa Paula. And the Boys Clubs are all the community groups. And it's not just for kids. I mean, we've made it originally in high school, but we think the middle school will work for it, and we think that when kids in junior college and people that are in the military are people that are in prison, we've got a whole system of people in prison that are going to come right out, and the recidivism is so high that they'll probably go right back in, and this is something that could change their lives, change their behavior, change their outlook, change their faith and confidence in the rest of the world.
And you know, one of the most beautiful things, Chip, is when we as a country come together and realize that we may live in separate homes and live in different locations, but we are all in this thing together.
Amen.
Together. And so when we can help streamline people going to jail, that helps our world overall.
Oh,
it helps everything.
It does, and I just, I'm just, as soon as you said that, I'm reminded of all that terrible thing that happened in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. I'm not sure which one, at the Jewish synagogue, and then what happened here in Thousand Oaks with the slaying at the restaurant.
Borderline. For those of you that, if you don't know, in essence, we're talking about people that, I'm just going to curtail it, that went off the rail and did a massacre killing. And I personally think that we as a country, that's on us. We haven't supported. I totally follow and agree with what you've just said, but I'll say that we saw the worst of the world at that time, those moments, and then when the fire came and the floods came, we saw the best of the world. People opening their arms and doing what they could to help people who had lost their homes or had lost a loved one. I mean, there's so much more good in the world than there is bad. So much. We are a good people. I believe that.
I think we are. I agree.
I don't care where you are in the world, and I'm not just talking about the United States. I'm talking about the world. I think we are a good people because whatever you believe, I believe we've come from good. And so anyone can lose their way, and when you have programs that can help you when you lose your way to hear a different voice, it makes a difference.
It does, and Gino, I'm sure it's been said by many more scholars over the years, but I look at what I learned in school. I have memories of these wonderful teachers that helped me become a better person, but I can say I've forgotten a lot of the stuff they taught me. I have never used it, so I'm not telling educators to have to get rid of all their academic courses. I'm just merely saying let's have some programs in there that address the issues that kids are going to face, because I think the kids are clamoring for that, and I think that'll just make them better. And not only that, it will improve. We found that it improves grades because kids are more likely to understand why they're reading about this stuff, why they're learning about it, and so it's more on them. And I think being accountable and just owning your own behavior is important. It's an important skill to have.
It absolutely is. Well, I see you have some things here. Let's put this up in the camera. And so is this a package that you send out?
This is a package that I send out, and over the years I've been fortunate enough, the Institute for Teaching has supported, that's part of the California Teachers Association. They have given us grants, as has the National Education Association. Now, even though we want to give everything away, but we still have to pay for the materials, because I'm afraid. Anyway, I think that it is a program, as I've said, that it's easy to use, and it's refurbishing, and it just makes you feel like $1 million. And again, I've talked to enough kids over the years to know that it works. So
that's beautiful. And so then it also sounds like not only in schools, but once again, I think in all different types of communities that this work can be done.
It can, without a doubt. And I even think in the military, I think the military needs a soft skill component there. They get a lot of these kids fresh out of high school who are gung-ho and patriotic. Nothing wrong with either of those things, but left unchecked, if there's not some kind of regulator or just an awareness of other people are different, maybe think a little differently than you, let's just not rush in to do things. Let's just be methodical and be patient.
Well, that's a part of it, I think, with our country. As you say, the military, I definitely am in agreement, and I also believe in our police force, that we have a lot of wonderful policemen, policemen being men and women. This is a courageous job. It's not one that I could do. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. But I'm very proud of the police officers. And yes, we do have some that have stepped outside the bounds. And so we need to have a way that we can support our police officers in a very different way.
Yes.
They need better tools.
They do indeed.
You know, you can't, I don't believe you can work with low-level energy all the time and you not become the very thing that you started out being a security or a blanket or being a way to help control that.
And when you look around, if you think about the other disadvantages and things that are going on in the community, like drugs, like poverty, like fatigue, just the element of not knowing where you're going to sleep at night. I believe all of this is just factored into what a child has to deal with and what the police have to deal with, and what city leaders and people that have houses. A lot of us, I mean, I guess I never say I don't never, but I think a lot of times I'm not thankful enough for how blessed I am. And I'd like to have that same blessing bestowed on everybody. And I think the way to do it is we as a society have to realize that we are our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper. And it's important that we keep that in mind whenever we're moving.
And work together. So, Chip, I just found out that you are also a writer.
I am a writer. I've written a book, and I've got another one I'm going to get published hopefully soon. And I've written a couple of screenplays, one that we are praying gets made in the near future.
That is so awesome. Now, is there a particular genre of, are you a horror or science fiction or comedy or writer?
Well, Gino, I'll answer you with my favorite quote about myself, even though I stole it from Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
And for one of his songs, at night when I'm laying in bed and a freight train's running through the middle of my head, my brain never seems to stop. So I think of everything, and I would say that the book that I wrote, The Philosophy of a Dashboard Saint, is a self-help book, and it just kind of gets you through the day. It's just all positive stuff, and I self-published it, but I did attract Barnes & Nobles at the very end where they wanted to do my next one. So the next one is going to be the book called It's My Life, and it's kind of the basis of this program.
Oh, beautiful.
So I hope to have something done with that in the near future. So I will say that, yeah, I would love to write that best-selling novel, but the only way I think I could do it is stream of consciousness, and I don't know if I wrote it, if anybody could understand it, because it would be all over the place. I just don't know if I have the discipline. I keep saying, let me have discipline, please, universe. Enrich me, but it hasn't happened yet.
Well, I believe the universe has all the answers. And so I know that it has not only the guidance that can streamline you, but also all the people that are needed are the ones that are looking for exactly what you're saying. And there's billions of them.
Well, I love those. I love those numbers. I love those numbers, and I believe you're right, and I'm positive that you are.
Absolutely. So, as we get ready to wind this up, what would be the idea, the perfect scenario for It's My Life?
Gosh, boy, that's a great question, and I'll say the perfect scenario would be able to just keep running into people that get this program and want to implement it and put it in. I'd like charter schools. I'd like, as I've said earlier, the penal system to get involved in. I'd like the military to take a look at it. I'd like the regular public schools and private schools to all be involved in pushing it forward. But most of all, I just want people to have the understanding that we've got to do more than we're doing, because there's so much criticism about education, and there are a lot of kids who are getting left behind. And now it's changed. Even years ago, when we talked about special education, Gino, we talked about retarded kids.
Right.
Now we don't. We talk about learning disabled abilities. We talk about autism. We talk about emotional disturbance. We talk about just all sorts of things. Hard of hearing, hard of seeing.
Everything.
Yeah, it's
everything.
everything.
If you're different, Now that's special needs.
And the school districts and the school systems don't have the money, they don't have the expertise to handle all of these issues that are going on, and again, so that leads me to say this that might fall on deaf ears to some. I'd like to see us reduce our military budget and up our education budget. I think that would be wonderful.
Well, I think it's going to take us, that means you and also you. It's going to take us to start pitching in and not waiting for the political arena or this particular office or that particular office, because as you've built this, my understanding is that people can use this in their home, that parents can use this as a way to communicate with their kids, and kids can use this as a way to communicate with other kids. The kids today are really stepping out in some different ways. You see them stepping out against gun control, and they've pulled together much quicker and faster than what we've done.
I think this young generation is great. I'm blown away by what I hear from these young people coming out and talking about the issues that are just right in front of them and things they've been directly and indirectly affected by. I just think it's fabulous.
It's awesome. So Chip, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for bringing us It's My Life. And now, is there a web page?
There is a web page, and it's itsmylifeprogram.com.
All the links will be below. Please comment, leave a comment, and let us know what you're thinking about. They can get in contact with you through there as well?
They can indeed.
Okay.
But just to be on the safe side, can I give you my other email address? And I'm on Facebook as well. But it's chipzip47@yahoo.com.
Chipzip
47 at yahoo.com. Let me not forget my birth date. I was born in 1947. Okay, yikes.
That was a great year.
Oh, it was a great year. I'm not sure why, but it was. I'm
because
certain.
You were born.
Oh, well, thank you, Gina. A lot of mine, I have to hug you for that. That is
absolutely. So we got to sing our song out.
All right.
You ready?
I am.
People all over the world, join hands.
Join
Start
hands,
a love train.
People all over the world, join hands. Start a love train. Gino, I love your voice.
Oh, thank you.
I wish I could have complimented you as well as I had practiced doing it. But I have stage fright, I guess.
You were absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
And just before we go, I want to just mention to everyone, this oak tree, it is oak, correct?
It is an oak tree.
This oak tree behind me is outrageous. How old is it?
I'm told it's 250 years old.
Oh, don't you just love it?
We love it. It's a great oak tree.
It's a beautiful oak tree. And so we had to sit out amongst nature, as nature shows us all the time that it constantly is evolving and expanding. And so we have an opportunity to evolve and expand. Right now, all of the universe is looking at us saying, hey, I'm with you. Anything you want, I can help you get there. We just got to trust that the road is there. I want to thank you for joining me on Pass the Mic. And remember, we are one. We hold a vision. We are creating our here and now. Just you and me. Just you.
Yes.
And me.
That's us.
And us. Thank you for joining me on Pass the Mic. I'll see you next week. Don't forget to comment.